Good evening, Tracy Cooley here with my final case study presentation for our client Hannah from our video in class. First, let's review her case overview. Hannah, she is a 20-year-old who has been using heroin for the last 3 years. She had apparently been started with, I believe it was cannabis use in her preteen to early teen years. And even in the video herself had stated that she admitted her use of cannabis was a problem from the start, and she perceived it as a gateway to the stronger drugs that she had gone through, and then she now has been for the last 3 years, like I said, a heroin addict. She was born with a rare disease. While they didn't disclose what that was, apparently it was something digestive. That was at the point where Kate, her mother, had stated that was really the start of Hannah's emotional trouble and troubles in school, troubles with getting along with other people, dealing with people. She had stated that Hannah became aggressive with her younger sister, appeared to have a low self-esteem, just a hard time at such a young age, apparently dealing with this disease and with other other children, her age group in school, bullying, of course, due to the side effects from that disease. It was hard for her to handle. However, I don't recall hearing Kate, Hannah's mother, state anything about any kind of counseling they had undergone, be it as a family or with just Hannah herself. I never caught that in the video all along, which I thought was a little bit odd because they seemed like a very caring, loving, supportive family. All of them, the mother, father, and younger sister, all seemed to be very supportive and loving for Hannah. So I don't know if that was omitted for a reason or if I missed it or what. I don't think I missed it. I listened to it several times. But anyway, I thought that was a little bit odd. And I know, that's normally something that parents would meet with the school and the teachers and, describe what the disease was and tell them how to deal with it, even maybe get involved with social work at the hospitals or doctors and meet with the school and all together. So I thought that was kind of strange to omit that. But anyway, moving along, primary factors contributing to Hannah's substance abuse. She, like I said, at a very young age, started having to deal with her disease, which was really causing her some emotional problems. And like I said, I put it in my next slide here, I did not see any kind of, counseling or anything that they had done early on, even before she started any kind of addiction. Her next contributing factor, she now has chosen to live away from her family and lives currently. When it first started at the video, she was just living on the streets in Brighton with her boyfriend Ricky, who is also an addict for the last 8 years, a heroin also addict. So that in and of itself is, as we know from our readings, what we've learned in class, two addicts living together does not typically work out for recovery for both of them simultaneously. So I believe that is a big factor in her recovery as well. I think Hannah falls into biophysio or psychosocial model of addiction. I believe her mental and emotional health have clearly been a factor since a very young age. And I don't feel like that aspect of her health is being dealt with at all right now. I think that everyone, including her family and herself, seem to focus on her obvious physical health with getting into recovery and stopping the addiction use, the drug use. However, I don't see any evidence of any counseling or group programs that she is in or has been in. Sociologically, she's currently moving around from shelter to shelter with her boyfriend each time, or there had been times where she had been in a shelter. I don't know if it was for women only or what, but and then Ricky was living on the streets, but he could come during the day. So it's been a lot of turmoil and a lot of changes, and that to me just isn't something that mixes well with the behavior and the mental stability of two addicts living together or two addicts being together. And my next slide, I just wanted to put up just as kind of a reminder for us. This was the information from our text. And like I said, I thought she fell into the center one, the psychological. She has a lot of mental health, emotional health issues, and I believe that she has a strong will. I believe that she seems like she has a strong will. She seems like she has expectations of being successful and the want of being successful. However, I think she kind of slides over into sociological with her interpersonal relationships. I think she has some issues with her mother. I think she definitely has issues with living with another addict. So she kind of goes back and forth between those as well. And then the physiologic, if she has, I don't know if her disease is genetic or if it's just, physiological. She kind of can fall into that as well if, that disease has somehow caused her, physically to have a need for the extra high of the drug. Without knowing all of her chart, there's no way to really know. But I thought that was kind of interesting how I, in my mind at least, could place her in each one of those sections almost, or to bounce around in them at least. Much like you bounce around in the behavioral models as well, or behavior change models as well. So as far as her readiness stage, I can see where she's taking action. She's trying the methadone, and I don't think we ever saw in the video that she actually reached the point where she was only using methadone. She was still trying to judge what dosage she needed, basically. I don't feel like it ever really told us if she ever did reach it. So I saw that, and then I seemed to see less of that. I saw that one little clip, and for a year-long video, you would think you would see more than one clip of that. We saw a lot of clips of her preparing or using. So I feel like she bumped in and out of preparation, pre-preparation, action, much like that happens with any addiction. So I commend her for at least trying the methadone. It would be really interesting to find out if it ever did work for her. This was from 2007 to 2008. And I actually did Google her name and the name of the video, and I couldn't find anything except for different websites and newspapers and such that had, had articles or had videos of that video. So I thought that was I didn't do a deep dive, but I just wanted to see what ever came of her and if she ever recovered. I did feel like she seemed to speak as though she was not concerned at times about even trying rehab or even keeping up with the methadone. There was, at one point, they had asked her what was the most amount of money that she got when she was begging. And she had mentioned the amount, and then they asked what she had done with it, and she said she used it to feed her habit. In other words, she bought her next hit with it. So that to me was back in, the pre-preparation, really, almost, or contemplation, really. Not too concerned about, continuing on. It was more continuing on to that next high. It wasn't continuing on to trying to not do the next high, spending that money on, saving it for rent or food or, anything other than that. Other times I felt like when they found that vacant flat and moved into it, she seemed like she really wanted a future and she really wanted to have success and stability in her life. Again, that was when her mother had come and helped her out and brought, blankets and such, and they set up that little apartment, and she seemed really happy then. So for her potential motivating factors, like I said, I think she did show some really happy moments there when she was in that new vacant flat that they had moved in. And then maybe if that had worked out a little bit better, they apparently got found out and got told they had to pay to live there, and then that didn't pan out, so they had to move out. So maybe if there was an availability somewhere else where they could rent but have specific terms, maybe not as much as like the group homes that they were in, the group shelters that they were in, but maybe a flat of their own like what they were in, but with terms of continuing with the methadone and adding on, group therapy or counseling of some such. Maybe that would be a motivating factor for Hannah and Ricky both. I would like to see her moved into something by herself, and Ricky something by himself to alleviate that issue of them living together, but that's a whole nother issue. The idea could be on a trial basis, and then if the terms were broken or they went into rehab, then obviously, that would either work for the bad or the good there. So her possible barriers, I thought it was really, really clear to me that her family was super supportive of her and Ricky. From the beginning, you got that, and all through the video, you got it. Even though her father and younger sister chose not to participate in the video, it was made very clear that they supported her and loved her, and Ricky. But at times, I had feelings about her mother, Kate, that she was a little bit on the line of enabling Hannah and Ricky in reality, which, no judgment here. As a mother, I would probably do the same thing. I know Kate had stated that her and her husband had marital tension when he wanted to do the so-called or quote-unquote tough love with Hannah, and Kate never could get to that point. So they're kind of stuck where they're at. Another conversation that Kate had in this video was that in the very beginning of all of this, she felt like her and her husband were very naive in what addiction was and the ways that addiction works with the person and with the family dynamic and all of that. She felt like they just didn't know enough. I feel like she alluded to the fact that they learned it as they went. But again, I never heard her say that they had any type of counseling, which I just still can't stop going to the fact that I thought that was really strange, that they seemed so loving and supportive that they never would have sought out counseling. I don't know why that would have been omitted from the video, but I didn't catch it. But anyway, I felt like that was another big barrier for Hannah and her family as far as in terms of Hannah's addiction and her recovery process. I really would say I liked this assignment. At first I was a little uneasy about the video, but then as it went along, I understood better about what was going on. It was good to read it and, read things in our text and, you see movies and such, but this was, basically a documentary of this girl for a year. And it was good to see, although it's sad, you saw it in action and you saw what you were learning and you saw it happening. So with Hannah, like I said, I really hope that she eventually sought out some sort of help as far as talking to someone or a group session, because I think that was really missing from this video. And it just leaves you kind of wondering. It left me that way anyhow. But overall, I think it was a really good eye-opening video and helped kind of bring into terms some of the things that we have learned, like I said. And I think that her case is probably one of the more, you hate to say it, but more mild cases. Even though she's she's addicted to heroin. You never was stated that anything really bad happened to her other than a couple of arrests and a couple of minor charges. A lot of times, you hear or you may know people that, bad things, really bad things, accidents, overdoses, really bad health due to the addiction. But it doesn't seem like she's hit basically her low point. And I think sometimes with anything, it's the same, from something small to something big like this. You have to hit your low point. And I don't think she is there yet or has been there. And I think maybe that is also one of her barriers, maybe. It's sad to say, but sometimes we just have to hit a low point in order to get it and finally take further steps. So anyway, I hope everybody else enjoyed the video and got a little bit more insight from just reading. I thought it was good, like I said. And thank you all for your time.